I've never cared for yellow, Vivian Carlisle said absently, looking over the editorial spread. It's so garish, even in pastels. Most people would assume her comment was a casual observation. Jules Moretti, not most people, knew it was the calm before the storm, and decided this would be a great time to stare intently at the notes on her tablet. Who was today's unlucky target? It couldn't be her. Vivian didn't make a habit of discussing aesthetic preferences with personal assistants. It must be somebody a lot higher up the ladder than Jules, but still below Vivian, like Simon, the creative director, or Angie, head of copywriting, or God. But when Jules looked up, unable to take the long silence, she was skewered by Vivian's eyes looking directly at her from across the desk. Simon and Angie had left the room, and the heavens remained resolutely silent. And when Vivian Carlisle said a thing to you and then looked at you, you had about 2 seconds to figure out whether or not she wanted you to say something back. Jules's 2 seconds were halfway up. She thought fast. She didn't wear a lot of yellow, and she wasn't wearing any today, and there were models wearing yellow in the spread, so Vivian wasn't critiquing Jules personally, at least not yet. Think. They've done studies, Jules heard herself saying. People think yellow's supposed to make you feel cheerful, but it doesn't. It can actually make people anxious. Something more seemed called for. Pink makes them calmer, actually. Did that qualify as thinking? Maybe it was more like shoving her head underwater and shaking it around rapidly. Vivian had no patience for fools. That remark probably qualified as foolish. Vivian raised an eyebrow. Jules suppressed the urge to inform her that sometimes prison cells were painted pink to keep the prisoners happy. It might be taken the wrong way. Instead of calling her foolish, Vivian looked back down at the spread on her desk. Jules braced herself. Mallory, Vivian said. Jules already had her message app pulled up, and she fired off a summons. This wouldn't be pleasant. Mallory had worked at Jour for 2 years now as a photography director. She'd come up with cool, innovative spreads that had put her first on Simon's radar, then Vivian's. Her last project had lacked that flair, though. Vivian had called it vapid. This was strike 2, and Vivian would make sure Mallory felt the whiff of the baseball as it barely missed her face. Mallory seemed to sense this as she hurried in, glancing around at the sleek mid-century furniture and the huge windows that offered amazing views of Manhattan. Mallory fit right in with it, as tall and slim as a skyscraper, clad head to toe in the latest designer fashions. She was elegant and gorgeous, and she tried so hard. She wanted it so much, too much. Radiating that kind of attitude in front of Vivian Carlisle was like throwing chum to a shark. "You wanted me?" she asked breathlessly, with that mixture of adoration and terror that Vivian seemed to inspire in everyone.